Okay, well, hi everyone. David and Karen of Film Courage here. We are on the line with Katie Graham and Andrew Matthews, writers and directors of the film Zero Charisma, which currently has 8 days left in its crowdfunding campaign on IndieGogo. And Zero Charisma is about Scott Weidemeyer, an overgrown kid, basically, whose life is in disarray. He has a menial job at a donut shop. He lives with an abusive grandmother. But what kind of holds everything together is his love for Dungeons and Dragons, D&D. And that introduces him to a new cast of characters and all sorts of politics that go along with that.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the Indiegogo campaign. Their goal, their target was $15,000, and now they're over 23,000.
Wow.
They still have eight days left in the campaign, so this is quite an accomplishment for Indiegogo.
Yeah, it sure is. And you may also remember Katie and Andrew from one of my favorite films, Best Worst Movie. Mm-hmm. It's a doc about the making of what has been touted as possibly one of the worst films ever, Troll 2. And it's from the year 1990. Katie was the DP and co-editor on the film, and Andrew was the lead editor. So yes. Welcome.
Yes, thank you both for joining us today. You know what?
Yes. It's great. Yeah, thanks for having us.
You know, and
yes.
It looks beautiful there.
It's comfortable and beautiful,
you know? Yeah. And we especially appreciate you taking time out here on Memorial Day. You know, sort of delaying the barbecue plans to spend time to chat with us. And we know that you guys are in Austin, Texas. You know, you moved there a year and a half ago. Why are we seeing so many talented filmmakers in this city of Austin?
I can only speak for us, I guess. And it was the Austin attracted us as a place to make independent films because of the small but supportive film community, and also the cost. I mean, the teaser trailer that we made for Zero Charisma, we got to use some awesome locations in the game shops, the comic book shops, and we just walked in and said, "Hey, can we talk to a manager? Would you mind if we shot here someday?" And they said, "Oh yeah, sure. Come on back. I'll open the store early for you." You know, and you do that in Los Angeles, and they'd say, "Yeah, it's $1,000 a day. You know, here's our form structure. You know, here's our fee structure." And so there's just it's a kind of town where it's small enough that kind of thing can happen, but it's big enough where you have a lot of talent and you have all of the the know-how and the artistry.
It's just such a film community here. There's a community in Austin, just being a city, and then there's a film community here that's a real community that Los Angeles, there's so many people that it can't really be a community like this. So I think that's the benefit for sure, and what drew us to Austin.
Now with Zero Charisma and with Best Worst Movie, you sort of spotlight these two themes about underground cultures and people that are fanatics of these cultures. What is it about that attracts you? I mean, why? I mean, with Zero Charisma here, you have this guy that loves Dungeons and Dragons, and then with Best Worst Movie, you have these people that love Troll 2. They buy merchandise 20 years after the fact and follow the movie around the U.S. What is it about these subcultures that you're attracted to?
I don't think we set out intentionally to examine subcultures. I guess it's just comes from wanting to make films about specifics. You don't want, sort of ordinary generalities. You want people who are very specific and unique. And I think it's just more the times. I mean, with the way things are going with the internet and everything, it's like everybody belongs to a subculture. Yeah. There's nobody anymore who doesn't have some kind of subculture. So, in a way, when you get to know a character, then you're getting to know what subculture they belong to. And they're both things that, I mean, I was a D&D player for, been a D&D player for a long time, and we were both big Troll 2 fans. So in a way, it's just because we were members of those subcultures that we've gotten into these films.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Katie, are you also a fan of Dungeons and Dragons?
I am not really a fan of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm interested in nerd culture. I'm a nerd in some respects regarding certain things. I'd say I'm kind of a comedy nerd. I make vlogs on YouTube, so I'm kind of a video nerd, kind of into cable access and stuff like that. So I don't know, but yeah, D&D specifically, that's kind of Andrew's.
I've not been able to get her to play. Ever.
I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm totally interested in it. I mean, not really the game, but the people it draws.
It's too much math. Right?
Yeah,
Too much math.
And how did you formulate Scott's character? Because here he is a nerd, but he's not like the weak nerd in Revenge of the Nerds where you want to protect him. And he's not the charming leading man. Where did you come up with this sort of composite?
I think there are examples of that type of character in a lot of. I mean, you look at like the Simpsons comic book guy.
Yeah,
he's kind of that type.
I call him a know-it-all nerd. Where it's always trumping you, always knowing more than you about everything.
Yeah. And then that seems to be more the kind of nerd. And I don't want anyone to think that using the word nerd disparaging.
Sure. Oh yeah.
We're certainly nerds ourselves. I mean, it's affectionate, but that's more the weak kind of nerd. It's almost not as common. It doesn't seem to me. It's more about like knowing more than you and always outdoing you. And I know more about this subject than anybody else, and you guard it.
Yeah.
And we've always loved those characters. From I don't know if you've ever seen the UK Office. Mm-hmm. And there was that character who only had one appearance. He was the tech guy who comes to like fix the computers, and he has that conversation with Garrett, and it's just like this amazing character. And he's just in there for 1 second. It's like that's
and he just knows everything about everything.
Yeah.
And it's like I think everybody knows that type of guy. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that type. So we were just like, let's make. They're kind of sick of seeing like in independent movies really hip, cool young people. I kind of the feeling of wanting to see. The type of person that most people don't want to make a movie about. Mm-hmm. I mean, to me, that's kind of what independent movies really should be.
Yeah. And I think the most important thing for comedy is a real passion. You gotta have a character who's extremely motivated and passionate and speaks his mind, and that's
comedic.
Yeah.
And what's the reason, or where did you formulate sort of the story structure? Here it is, Scott's sort of vying for attention amongst the nerds against this guy Miles, is that right? Who's sort of this new golden boy that's come in and sort of attracted the respect of this whole D&D group. So where did you formulate this story? Scott's living with an abusive grandmother. He's got a grunt job that he hates.
I think it's pretty classic storyline. We actually, as we came up with the idea, we started renting movies that had great rivalries in them. The sort of, I guess you'd call it. It's funny, we went and saw Bridesmaids the other night, which was really, really funny. Mm-hmm. And we're like, oh gosh, this is very kind of similar story structure. Yeah. Again, it's, a new character who comes into the main character's world and threatens something very dear to them. But for one reason or another...
But really just socially threatened.
Right.
It's not like they're actually doing anything to threaten them. It's just their presence is socially a threat.
Right, and for one reason or another, like, open conflict is not an option. So they have to find... Oh, there goes our screen. So they have to find ways to, like, battle this person, in socially acceptable ways, which seems funny to us. Yeah.
And you seem to be getting comments from people on, like, Discuss or whatever, people that kind of feel a kinship with this character Scott, where they're like, finally someone, showing sort of the nerd as the hero, and you're gathering people that are sort of real life introverts that kind of feel they're triumphing over the hipsters that come in and make a fad popular for a while and then abandon it. So what kind of support have you received as far as people giving you feedback about how they feel a real connection to this story?
I don't know. I mean, I'm blown away by people's support of it. I mean, just the IndieGogo thing alone, that we're, almost $10,000 past our goal. I mean, we can't even believe it. It's really, really surprising to us. I mean, the day we put up the IndieGogo campaign, I thought, oh God, we're only going to get, what are we going to do? How are we going to get this money? We're never going to make this goal.
Yeah.
And it just rolled, and it was just amazing. And, Facebook, so much interest on Facebook. it's kind of a surprise to us. I mean, we knew we wanted to see it, but it's amazing other people want to see it too. So
And there were fears from the beginning. Some people who would hear the concept or something would say, people don't want to see movies about losers. They want movies about, strong people, about good-looking people.
yeah,
I mean, it's surprising that somebody would say that, but they would, and we really believed, like, no, there's a big, opening for characters that are not cool and don't have it together and not hip, and I think it was been validating to have the reaction that we've had, that people do want to see a character they can identify with.
oh yeah.
Right. Let's just switch to Best Worst Movie for a moment. I'm curious, how did the stars of Troll 2 react to people making such a huge fuss over them 20 years after the fact, and almost from like a negative standpoint where it was touted as it had like the worst IMDb rating or something like that, and here they're being sort of praised for that. How did they react once the cameras were off or while they were rolling?
It's pretty much the same. I mean, I think they didn't really understand it, but then they were like, but it felt good, and people really at these screenings, they really did, even though they don't think these people are great actors, they really do love them in a way, like as a famous person. I mean, they really treated them like stars, and it's just something these people have never experienced in their lives. So I mean, it was touching to them, really. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And there were some that had suspicions
That's true.
about it. They don't want to be made fun of,
Right.
and
yeah.
fair enough.
Yeah.
I would understand that too. And then some of them were saying, like, I don't want anything to do with it. And then once it got to a certain level of popularity, then they're like, well, maybe I can use this to promote my things that I'm doing
Yeah,
now
I've got
too.
some shirts I could sell here. So.
And I know in
So-
Troll 2, Michael Waits, who was the father, played by George Hardy, who's actually a dentist in Alabama. It's kind of strange how that happened, because it seems like he was an actor for a while, and then maybe he had the dentistry that he followed, and then he sort of had this resurgence once Best Worst Movie came out. I know NPR interviewed him and seemed to be getting a lot of press. What's George up to now?
I think he's still his dentistry. His daughter just graduated high school, and I think they're about to put her through college, and so he's still a dentist. I think he's.
No, the documentary was pretty accurate in that respect, as how George's story ended. He was really like sick of the Troll 2 crap, and he wanted to just go back to his life that he was. But with that same, like, if there was an opportunity to, be on television again, he'd take it in a second.
Yeah.
We wanted to touch on Best Worst Movie to give ourselves the opportunity to find out how did that film sort of influence your decision to go ahead and decide to make Zero Charisma?
Well, that was actually when we were here in, I guess, 2009, when Best Worst Movie was at South by Southwest. Was our first time in Austin. And we really liked the town a lot. We had a great time. And Best Worst Movie was kind of a little bit of a sleeper, I don't say hit at South by Southwest, but it was a movie that I think people were kind of not paying much attention to. And then after the screenings did very, very well. And by the end of the week, it was kind of being talked about, and it was very exciting for us. And we kind of thought, well, we got to do this again.
Yeah. I mean, it was basically seeing a crowd see Best Worst Movie, seeing it in the theater, and getting that audience reaction. I mean, It was like, we have to do this again, like right away. Let's do this as fast as we can. So.
And we just felt like we learned a lot of stuff, along with the three of us, Katie, myself, and the director Michael Paul Stevenson. We learned so much about narrative and characters, stuff that's not specific to documentaries. And we just suddenly, this idea that we had, we suddenly felt like that would make a really good movie, and we think we could sort of make people laugh and move them at the same time, just like with Best Worst Movie. And so let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
And when we first watched the teaser trailer that you have on your IndieGogo campaign, I mean, you watch this thing, it looks as if you guys have already shot the entire movie, and I'm guessing that you guys literally just shot the trailer. Are you guys gonna keep that footage?
Yeah.
Is that for the film, or are you guys just gonna reshoot the entire thing?
No, we're going to reshoot the entire thing. Yeah, that was just technically we weren't using the cameras that we want to use.
Yeah.
You know, as nice footage. Probably the sound is not as good as it should be.
Yeah. I mean, the crew was just, it was Andrew, I, and Thomas
yeah.
Fernandez who was producing this, and that was it. It was just us three.
Right.
So hopefully we'll have more out.
And it's great that it looks great, but we do want it to, look even better. The locations that we used were spectacular, but some of the locations, like where they actually played Dungeons and Dragons, that was just somebody's condo that we paid them to use their living room and dining room, just like upstairs, and let us have this for 4 hours. And and we had about an hour to sort of decorate it, set it up, take his stuff off the wall and put our stuff. But I mean, art direction is really important to us.
Yeah.
We want to really have locations that just scream that this is a real place. Yeah. Especially the grandmother's house. I mean, this has to look like this is the grandmother's house. So there's a lot more work we want to put into the visual aspect. And again, with those, the actors were spectacular, but they had no rehearsal. It was like, okay, now you're going to say this, and then you're going to say this, and they would just do it once or twice, and then we'd move on. So
that's what I was wondering. How much prep time did you guys put in? So there wasn't a lot of prep time. How much time did the actors have to sort of get into their characters? And I guess I should add, are these the same actors that we're going to see in the film?
I think some of them will end up being, but it's kind of hard to say right now. I mean, until we actually have the money and have investors and executive producers on board, we really kind of don't have the ability to say anything definite about casting. But we certainly, we asked those actors to be in the teaser because we thought, they were right for the parts. And so we're still wondering what's going to happen in terms of that.
And in terms of them they had no rehearsal time at all. I mean, it was basically here's the script. We gave them the script maybe a day or two before, but we didn't go over it with them.
Yeah.
Which we'd really like to do.
A lot of them didn't even read the whole script. They were just like, okay, I don't know.
They're like, what is this? And we just like, stand over here and say this one line, and then that's it. And they're like, what am I doing?
Now, is it correct that you were somewhat uncomfortable with launching this IndieGogo campaign? And if so, what were your reservations?
I was just afraid we wouldn't make the money, really. I wasn't afraid to do the IndieGogo campaign. It was just,
what if we don't raise the money?
What if we don't raise the money? Is that embarrassing? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I was just like, how do we do it, Because we went to panels at South by Southwest this year, and they told us about this crowdfunding thing, and I'd kind of heard of it before, and so, but they were like, you have to be very focused when you do it. You can't just put it up and just hope people come. And we were like, okay. So when we did it, it was like, oh, okay, we've got to be very focused with this. I've got to, I had to make a vlog, and we had to, notify our contacts and all that kind of stuff, kind of get the ball rolling. But I mean, from there, it's just the thing we didn't expect is so many people that we didn't know donating so much money. I mean, that's what's really blown us away.
That's what they tell you at the South by Southwest panels was, most of the money that you get is going to come from friends and family. And these websites just serve as a place where they can all go to donate money. Don't expect too many strangers to be giving you money. And so our concern was, do we have enough friends to fund this thing? But then it turned out that, I think 75% of the money came from people we don't know. And it's just staggering to think that somebody in Australia who has never met you saw this thing and then gave you $100.
Or give $1,000, and you're like, who can do that?
Yeah, it's like, wow.
That's amazing to me. It's amazing.
And so now the fear is like, you feel like you have an obligation to these people, all these hundreds of people giving you money, and like, we've got to deliver something. I mean, sure, we're going to have this, completed this year, but, you want to deliver something that meets their expectations, but at the same time, you don't want to do that. You want to stick to what your vision is. So it's complicated.
Well, I mean, you guys are being really modest with sort of just piecing together this teaser trailer. You know, it's something that is engaging. You know, and when we watch it, I can feel a connection with what you have, the writing, the characters. And you know, and when I saw it, I was sort of compelled, like, you know what, this just looks like something that I want to support. So it certainly has that sort of aura or magic to it. So I just wanted to, I guess, just land that,
And that's
that
important
comment.
too.
Yeah, sure.
That is
And-
oh, sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, and I'll come back with a question.
Okay, that was great about the teaser trailer having that, because one of the big concerns on Indiegogo is that people want to know that there actually is going to be something made. Like, the first thing they want to know before they donate is this actually going to get made? And so if we had something that made people feel very secure that there was a film behind it. So.
You know, we've seen more success stories on Kickstarter. You know, we've seen larger amounts raised on Kickstarter. Why did you guys decide to go with Indiegogo between the two?
I don't know. It was close. We were going back and forth, and I guess we kind of, and I may be totally wrong about this. It was just our impression was that Indiegogo seemed to be more only film. Kickstarter was like a lot of products and like technological innovations. You know, people like inventing or trying to raise money to invent a new product or a new piece of software. Indiegogo seemed to be far more weighted towards artistic endeavors, or
Well, and also, I think another thing is that, you know, if you don't meet your goal on Kickstarter, you don't get the money. And I was like, well, we're not meeting our goal, probably. I guess I'm a pessimist. so I'm like, well,
that's true.
we better.
Yeah. So
that was an element.
that
Sure.
does make you go, yeah, let's do the one where we know we'll at least get something.
Yeah, I mean, because it's a lot of work. I mean, that's what it's a little confusing to me about Kickstarter, because, you know, it is a lot of work to kind of have a campaign and try to get people interested, and to, like, you make $10,000, and if your goal is $12,000, you don't make it. I mean, you don't get that money. That's a lot of work and time, and you know, that doesn't really make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess,
Mm-hmm.
but they say that encourages people to do it. So
Right.
Now, you were both, quote unquote, warned at South by Southwest that it takes a lot of energy and effort to you know, get this campaign up and running. How do you feel, Katie, that your vlog audience helped to translate into such a success that you've had already? I mean, do you think that if you hadn't had that built-in audience already, that it would be where it is now? I mean, you guys have just done an amazing job, and it is a very hard thing to do, to crowdfund, and you've made it look very easy. Do you think that built-in vlog audience just really carried you through?
I think it helped. I mean, I think probably from the people from YouTube, I think that was, you know, probably about $2,000 of the money, which is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, you know, it did help. And I also feel like those people are connected online. I think that's probably where it's most powerful with YouTube. It's just this connection online. You know, it's like, because of my YouTube, because of my blogging past, I also know kind of how it works, like how much pressure you put on people, how, you know, how much, you know, people can get really annoying online with wanting things and too much, almost spam people too much. I'm very sensitive to that, I feel like, from YouTube. You know, I think also from the YouTube thing, I have a lot of Twitter followers, and that helps, obviously, and spreads the word on that. You know?
Katie's being modest right now, too, because YouTube has offered her the partner program many times, and she's never taken it.
Well,
because and she's never like asked anybody for money or any of her subscribers for money. So it was a big kind of issue for her to finally go to her subscribers and say, "Give me money," for the first time. I've never asked.
It was pretty stressful for me.
You know, and even then, after, you know, even though some people on YouTube are constantly asking for money, she still gets comments like, "Why don't you get a job?" Right.
You know, I just want to ask Andrew. I mean, what is your take on Katie's vlog? How do you react to everything there? You know, what's your viewpoint?
I've not seen it yet. Actually.
Is that right? Okay.
No, it's great. I mean, she did it. I think of Katie as being such an artist of integrity throughout this whole YouTube thing. When she was sort of in at the ground floor when it was just catching on, sort of, and getting big, before anybody was making money on it. And then when a lot of YouTubers started trying to like cash in on and that's fine. I mean, that's your career basically, trying to make a living doing YouTube. But when it became sort of this for money thing, I don't know. Katie sort of just resisted that in a big way, and we're sort of reaping the benefits of that now because her subscribers have been so sort of loyal to her, not putting ads on her page and not, trying to raise money all the time.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of integrity. And so I have a lot of respect. And they're really, really funny, too.
And also, and when you live with someone, the last thing you'd want to do is watch their videos. I mean,
I live in a Katie blogger. I don't need to watch it online.
No, it's...
Thank you. And coming back to your crowdfunding campaign, who was the first person, or who were the first people that you shared this idea with, and how did they respond?
You mean donors or?
Yeah, just maybe just anyone you bounced the idea off of, but literally when you had this idea of like, we're going to do this, who were the people you turned to first?
Gosh. Well, I mean, one big person is Paul Stevenson, the director of Best Worst Movie, and he's been a lot of help and support. And he's actually right now, looking towards his next film that he's directing, called Destroy, which you can see is it destroythemovie.com?
I think it's under Magic Stone.
Magic Stone Productions. If you look at under Destroy, it's a horror comedy that he's producing. But he's been helping us in a lot of other respects, and has always been very supportive. A lot of people actually, when you explain the movie, they would just kind of, I don't know, they wouldn't be, they were not interested.
Like, okay, yeah, that sounds great.
Movie about D&D people, they're just like, and that's why we felt like we had to make the teaser trailer, because we felt like that would communicate it better. I think
because we had a script, and you can say like, read the script, and this is the idea, this is what we're doing, and really, people want to see something. Yeah. That's the best way to get people excited, is to show them something 3 minutes or under, I believe. Quick.
And I swear, this experience has taught me that if you have an idea for something, and if everybody you tell that idea to gets it, then it's not original enough. It's not unique enough, As from this point on, I want to be able to, if I have an idea, I want some people to kind of go, why would you do that?
What the hell are you talking about?
Because if everybody gets it, then that means it's, it's been done already, probably. So.
Well, now that you've exceeded your goal, and you still have 8 days left, do you almost wish you had set a higher goal?
I think times, but then...
I think everything is good the way it is.
Yeah, that's true. We're not going to complain about anything. No, I mean, right now we just have a goal in our mind of 25,000. We're like, that would be amazing if we hit that. It's already been amazing. So it's like, we've surpassed everything we expected. But now we're like, okay, what if we hit 25,000? It could happen. And I just kind of like to keep that mental goal, whether it happens or not. But, it'd just be a nice round number to tell people, and kind of, for other investors to see that. And
no, 15,000 was a great goal, I think, because that's the upper end that people on IndieGogo are asking for films. And the fact that we surpassed it by 60% or something, that's a great thing to be able to say, well, we set a high goal and we just blew it away. So that's worth that. It's worth that to be able to say that.
And what outlets are helping you guys? How is the word spread so fast on this? And I guess while we say that, we should give a shout out to Lord Bronco on Twitter. He's the one that reached out to us and said, hey, you really need to get in touch with the folks behind Zero Charisma. So if you're wondering how we found out about it, a gentleman named Lord Bronco on Twitter. But how is the word spreading? Like, what outlets are sort of embracing this and pushing this out?
It was big ones. Well, the first ones that came along were Examiner.com. Scott Wampler from Examiner.com contacted us and wanted to do an interview. He was a fan of Vesper's movie as well. Chud.
was probably the first article. I
Right,
think.
yeah. Badass Digest, which is the sort of blog. It's a local Austin movie blog. And then from there, I guess it was through them that it got to Wired. And then IO9, Boing Boing. Kotaku picked it up too. And when that started happening, we were just like,
We're like, what is going on?
So, and who did you reach out to first? How did these people? Were you initiating all of this?
That's
or
what was amazing about it is that we didn't reach out to
out.
anybody,
Yeah.
honestly. And we were thinking we had been planning like when halfway through the campaign will release a press release or something, but we weren't expecting anybody to be interested in it. It's just something you sort of do, and then all these outlets were contacting us, and it was
We're like, we don't really need to do
so
that.
we decided we didn't need to do a press release, I guess, at that point, which is what's so amazing. And I know that we're very lucky to have that, but to have the outlets like contacting you about something, and that's the value of having a video for an Indiegogo campaign. Like, not just a video of, hello, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, but like something that people would want. Hey, check this out. I want you to see this video, and would pass it around. That's huge. And I would recommend anybody who's doing an Indiegogo campaign to have some kind of fun video to watch, something that's fun.
That sounds really exciting to sort of have your audience, these different sort of indie champions, grab a hold of what you have and help you spread the word. That has to be really exciting. And I guess here we are on the other side.
Yeah.
Of that.
It's scary too, though,
One of those
because
outlets.
these people.
Oh, sorry.
So, Katie, I'm curious, how do you feel about crowdfunding now? You had sort of some reservations going in. You weren't sure if you could make the goal. How do you feel about it now?
We think it's great. I mean, it's amazing. Yeah, we. I recommend it to everybody. We recommend it to everybody. I mean, it's really the way to go. I recommend doing a video, and I think that's the best way to gain excitement. I mean, just at least from our experience, make it short and sweet and.
And I'm very curious to see what happens with crowdfunding in the future, because it's still in sort of its infancy, and I know that's part of the reason why a lot of big outlets were interested in our project were because, here's a successful crowdfunding campaign, and people are starting to wonder what this thing is, and the more attention crowdfunding gets, it will have to change in some way. So I don't know how that's going to change. I hope it doesn't become something where it's just people are trying to use it just to advertise, or I really am curious what the future of crowdfunding will be, because now since we've been doing this, it seems like everybody we know has a Kickstarter page.
Yeah, I think we know like at least 5 people that have have campaigns going or have been going since we've been doing it, or
which is just kind of weird for the future of crowdfunding. Like, if everybody has one, then I think you're going to be less likely to donate. When everybody has got one, then you can't. So I just don't know what the future of it's going to be.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think that touches on what you guys raised earlier in terms of, with social networks and with the internet and the way we all sort of are connected there, the way we support one another there, interact on Facebook and Twitter and such. And it's sort of like, how often do you turn to people and say, okay, I have this project, I need your financial support. Like, how often do you go to the well? And that's sort of like what you're saying with Katie's blog. It's like, she would just give away this blog and people would just enjoy it and be entertained by it. And yet she hadn't gone to them for any specific like financial reason. So I think that sort of does become a question, of how often do you do that?
I think the answer is not very often. You can't.
Yeah. Somebody else told us that as advice. They said you can do this once.
Yeah.
The next time you make a movie, people aren't going to give you money. You can't do this for every one of your movies. So make sure the one is good.
All right. So you guys don't plan on jumping into the fray anytime soon. Then you're just going to do this one campaign, ride this out, and I mean, do you have any thoughts of like, hey, we could have done this better. We can improve this, and we can raise this much more money?
Oh, sure, you think of that stuff, but then you also know that, a lot of the donations that came from people who believe in what we're doing. But let's say if we make the movie and it's not that great, then you're not going to, those people are not going to be there for you. And you maybe could raise money on the next project, but it wouldn't be nearly as much, I wouldn't imagine, right?
I don't know.
At least your family and friends. They're going to
Yeah.
go, okay, you want to make your own movie, here's your money, but then,
Yeah.
oh, you want to make another one? Well,
Well,
you're on your own now.
okay.
And Katie, you mentioned that you are sensitive to people who sort of spam your wall or hit you up for things or send out promotional blasts. How often do you think someone should go to their quote-unquote fan base with requests or spreading of news? What do you think is the appropriate way to do it without sort of alienating them?
Right now I'm dealing with a Facebook page. I'm kind of, post on there and I'm posting thank yous and stuff every time someone donates. I'll put, I'll grab a list of people who donated and put it on the Facebook page. But it's, I think, I send something like every 3 days. You know what I mean? You don't want to bombard people. Basically, no one wants to be bombarded with, other people's stuff. They will want to be aware of it and they can keep track of it as much as they want to, but no one wants to be bombarded, I think. And so I think that it's just to be cautious.
And we haven't even started production yet, so we're thinking like these people who we have their information on Facebook or are generous enough to like our Facebook page, we want to carry them through all the way to the end distribution.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose these people's enthusiasm, and so it's like overexposure. Oversaturation. You want to, even on small scale, tiny micro budget projects, you want to avoid that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
You bring up distribution there, Andrew, and maybe this question's a little bit too far out, but we're seeing on the indie level, on the micro level, the importance of thinking ahead to distribution, of how you're going to take this film and how you're going to reach your audience. So even though you guys aren't into production yet, are you sort of circulating those ideas? Are you thinking about like how are we going to get this to our audience?
Sure. Yeah. Just to make a business plan to present to possible investors and producers, you have to have shown that you thought about distribution. And in that sense, it's probably very similar to what most independent films are looking for distribution. There's always that, ultimate goal of theatrical, but you have to be realistic that that's very rarely achieved by small-time films. What we do have that's really fortunate is we do have a relationship with, Michael Stevenson and Magic Stone Productions, which did a sort of semi self-distribution of Best Worst Movie. And that model that he knows really well, we do have that as a possibility. There's relationships with all of the art house cinemas across the country that Best Worst Movie played in, and even DVD is a weird thing because, how much longer does that have?
Yeah.
So you plan ahead for DVD, but that video on demand is probably the most likely way that people will be watching movies, just in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's the official end date of the campaign? The time and date?
I think it's next Monday.
Which is June 6th.
Yes, I think it's June 6th. I'm not sure exactly what time. The time is kind of strange.
It's like in the middle of the day or something.
I think it's like noonish or something.
Okay.
Well, we start that at midnight, but it's for some reason the days click over in the middle of the day, so we'll see.
Okay.
Well, we're going to include sort of a link, that'll be attached to this video, so anyone that wants to see, and I think we both certainly highly recommend. We're going to be sending as many people over to see the teaser trailer you guys have. We love it.
It's excellent.
And we want you guys to stay in touch with us and keep us updated. Keep us updated on your progress. We really want to see what you guys do with this film, and we want to be able to chat with you again when you're all the way through the process.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
It's very helpful.
Yeah. Thank you for sitting down and chatting with us here on Memorial Day.
Of course.
Thank
All right.
you guys.
That's Katie Graham, everybody, and Andrew Matthews
Yeah.
of Zero Charisma.
Zero Charisma.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.